Okay. In accordance with the requirements of open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over Lunenburg Public Access. Announcements for our TV audience. We have 2 new members on the commission. We have them returning, actually, I don't want to call them new, they're experienced. Dave McDonald and Mike Knoll were reappointed on 9/3/19, and they will serve until next May town elections. Welcome back, and thank you guys for helping us out. Dave previously served on the commission from May 2010 until May 2015, and Mike previously served on the commission from May 2012 until May 2016. We have changed our October meeting, our first meeting in October, from October 3rd to October 15th, I'm sorry, from October 8th to October 15th. So we will be meeting after this. The next one is October 15th. There is a change to our irrigation meter policy. We want to make it clear on every televised meeting for this year that we have a new policy, and the new policy went into effect on August 1st, 2019. Current irrigation customers were sent a packet of information. You must comply with the changes by July of 2020 to remain in the irrigation meter credit program. Information also available on our website, Lunenburg, Mass, no space, lunenburgma.gov, Sewer Commission. There are no appointments tonight. Is there any public comment? Any comment from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair. I just want to say in Fitchburg recently there was a fire, so I'd just like to have people at home send their thoughts and prayers out to the 23 families who not only lost their homes, but some of them lost their lives. So our prayers go out to them for a quick recovery.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, the first order of business tonight is the election of officers. Due to the resignation of our previous chair, John Reynolds, effective August 14th, I am the present vice chair, filling in for him, but we need to take nominations for the chair.
Madam Chair, I recommend we put you in as chair.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Now we need to have a nomination for vice chair.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we put Ryan in as vice chair.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we still have Carl Luck, who's absent tonight, as our clerk. And
Madam Chair, I recommend we keep Carl Luck as the, was he the clerk?
Clerk.
The clerk.
I agree with that. Is there any discussion on changing that?
Well, he's not here, so we can do it now.
Okay. All right, so we're all set with
I
elections.
think we need a vote on that.
We need a vote to keep it? Okay, I'll take a nomination. Was that a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Congratulations, guys.
Okay, we're going to pass over 100 Lawton Ave, which requested the direct connection to Fitchburg. The sale fell through, so we're no longer considering that. 189 Crossroads Sewer Extension request update. Memo from the Board of Health, which Barb sent us in our packet. Yes, Barb?
Yes.
Okay. Perk tests, state determination. I'll open this for discussion.
Madam Chair, I just have one question on 100 Lawton Ave. Should we make a decision on that now for future buyers, or just wait for that
We
to
should
happen?
wait.
Okay.
We're going to pass it over.
Okay.
How about 189 Crossroads Sewer Extension? Barb, you want to give us a little summary on that?
Nope, we just, the last meeting that we discussed it was July 30th. Bruce Millette was present and Bill Hannigan. And the commission had tasked them with getting input from the Board of Health, which they have done and we
Yep.
have copied. So
Yep, we saw the copy.
it is up to the commission what's the next step.
Okay.
if any.
So I was not at the July 30th meeting. Ryan, you want to fill us in on that?
I have the letter from Andrew Griffith.
It sounded to me like an answer. Is that what you people are here for? Would you like to come up? want to give your name and address?
Bruce Millette, 189 Crossroad here in Lunenburg.
Okay. So the letter that we received from Public Health did say that the perk situation was such that it would not be suitable to put in a septic system. And you are petitioning to have the sewer connection.
That's the petition. Yeah, we live with a tight tank right now.
Right.
Very expensive.
Yes.
As you might know. And difficulty just before the tight tank.
I'm afraid I wasn't here the last time you were here. So Barb, can you fill us in? What is the closest connection?
It would, well, and Jack may help, but it may come up Lakeview and Crossroad. The sewer comes down, turns on Pine Grove. So there's that, but that's a longer distance. So I think the intent was to bring it out from Lakeview Road.
Jack,
Lakeview Ave,
how much of the sewer,
Yeah, these folks have been in a couple of times and have done their due diligence in terms of
perk tests, and mechanically we can get them into the sewer. It's a pressure system, and I mean, that's all. I don't have an opinion one way or the other as the board, the commission would like to go, but I would just say mechanically it's not a problem to get them into the sewer system.
okay?
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions. Have you talked to anyone yet about a contractor to do the work for you?
We've had a few contractors.
Okay.
I mean, they're willing. It's just a question of can we and which side we would go to, because we have to get close to either end of that property.
I think we have to go one way though, right? If I remember the area right, when we put the system in, they can only come on one street, or can they go the other way,
If
Crossroads?
they're going to enter the system, the proximity really isn't an issue.
It isn't, okay.
It's a pressure system, if you recall, right? So they can pump up, pump down. Gravity's not an issue. We went through this, I think, 2 years ago. Yeah.
I think
so
we went
they've-
through when we put it in.
Yeah, well, they have been hanging on this for quite some time.
Yeah, we're at that point now.
Yeah.
We need to make a decision, because this property is too large for us. It's two homes in one.
Yeah. Are you at the corner of the street, or are you down a little bit? Are you going to go by any houses with the pipe if we did it? No. Okay. I didn't think so.
My personal feelings, and I think I do remember you coming in 2 years ago. My personal feeling is I have no problem with this, and I'm perfectly okay with them being added to the sewer system. Jack, you don't foresee any problems?
I don't.
What would you say is the next step? Do they need an approval from us, and then
Well,
we...
they need approval from you, and after they get approval from the commission, and they go through the permitting process and the fees, and maybe even if they, I don't know at this point, it's none of our business whether you choose to do it right now or just have the permits to do it in the future.
Right.
Initially, they were looking, geez, can we do it? What can we do? And it's come to this, and can they do it? I guess that relies on your decision.
Well, the letter from the Board of Health was quite convincing.
Sure.
Yes, Barb?
There also is the concern that it's not in the sewer service area. So that was one of the first steps, was to get the information, look if we wanted to take it forward, or you wanted to take it forward, and then it would have to go to town meeting to get approval for the expansion. It is a sewer extension.
Yeah.
Anytime you change the sewer service area.
And are we in time for the fall? No, we're not in time for the fall town meeting, we are?
I didn't do up a draft one for it, but it could, the deadline for
I
the
think we
warrant
could.
articles.
You think you could?
Yeah.
I think we could.
30th of
When
September.
it's not closed yet in terms of articles. I would suggest that we stop short of a vote, but I suggest we move this along. These folks have been waiting for
Yeah.
some time.
Mike, do you have anything to add on this?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it sounds really good to me.
Madam Chair,
Obviously, it's an E1 system, right? Yeah, so.
Madam Chair, Barbara, we talked about this once before. Didn't we get that approved at town meeting when we brought it up? And I thought we went for a vote for that area three years ago when we put the E1 system in.
We've gone for votes for other areas,
Or wasn't that area?
not
'Cause
this particular area.
It was a question mark, so I thought we
Well,
expanded that.
there have been some times when lots have been split because the sewer district or the sewer service area doesn't
Okay.
go by lot lines. Sometimes it can bisect lot lines, which is unfortunate if that's your lot. but because of the perk test, because of the Board of Health letter in favor, and again, it's your choice, but then it does have to go to town meeting, which in fact, we could expedite that tonight. We could put an article, I believe we could still get an article on the warrant. And we could go through and perhaps by mid-November, these folks would be ready to go.
So if there's no further discussion, it seems like people are in favor of this, so if someone would like to make a motion, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the access to 189 Crossroads Sewer Extension request and to include it in this year's town meeting in November.
And to add them to the sewer district. Are you good with that add-on? Yes?
Yep.
Yep.
I'll second that. I'll second
Okay,
it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
I would just ask, if you could, I'll send you, or if you don't already have it, or you might have it in the old paperwork, just a request for an extension, and that gets signed off, but we should have that on file. And then we'll get you on the warrant.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, minimum charge policy resident complaint. And there was a letter in the packet. I don't know if anyone saw the letter. It was short and sweet and implied that someone else had paid for a certain portion of the time they were being charged. The letter was received on September 17th after a phone call complaint about the minimum policy charge of $97.20 and no prorating. Billed previous owners for usage through 5/31. Final red invoice, then billed the new owner from 6/1 to 6/30 through the regular billing process. And we have the handout. So Barb has cited here Article 7, 3C, 1A.
Right. And I don't have any handouts. I left my folder of my handouts back at the office, so I do apologize. It was the letter, and I had a printout of the portion of the regs that state that the commission had voted to keep a minimum charge at all times. I'm just trying to find it quickly if you bear with me. Sewer Commission is empowered, and this is section 7-3B1. Okay. Oh, jeez. Sorry, goes too fast. Sewer Commission is empowered to establish a minimum charge that would ensure user charges imposed on low water users cover the fixed costs of operating and maintaining the water system. Number one, minimum charge. If the water meter is on and there's no flow, there is a minimum charge. If the meter is off, it is confirmed there's no flow, the minimum charge may be waived. And then A is there shall be no proration on new accounts billed full quarter minimum and meters connected within a quarter, full quarterly minimum. Even parcels that get a final read on an outgoing owner receive the full minimum for the remainder of the quarter to cover setup administration costs. So it had been determined back in, it's been in place for a long while.
Yeah,
I do get a lot of calls and I do encourage people to come in, so that's what he did. But it's a common complaint.
What about his concern of the Signature Living paid also in the same quarter?
Well, they paid for 4/1 through 5/31 approximately, and he's paying for 6/1 through 6/30.
Yeah, and it clearly says here, there shall be no prorating on new accounts. I mean, that's a quote from the regulations.
It spells it very clearly, unfortunately. I mean, I know it's not a good situation, but
Yeah, we have to treat everyone equally. The rules have to apply to everyone the same.
say we can't change policy, right?
No.
That may be true, but it doesn't mean it's right either. I mean, I think if
We can do regulation review at a different time, but if you look right here,
Oh, no, trust me, no, we know. It's just saying is that, here's someone,
I'm feeling the same way if it happened to me.
I mean, when I buy a house, or when you buy a house, you would think that the people who lived there previously would pay their portion of it.
well, they did pay a portion.
And then that should be picked up, the rest of it should be picked up. I never agreed with that, but I know it's a policy now, and we can't change it, but I'm just saying is, I have to agree with the letter. That's my personal feeling on it. But we can't do it according to the bylaws.
I would agree with you that we can't do it according to the bylaws.
I can put it in my packet of information so that when we go back into the regs and make other changes, we can review it.
I mean, I think we should. It's the fair thing to do. I mean, I know we're talking under $100, but $100 today for some people is a lot of money. And when you move in, those are the last things you think about because, it's, you assume that the people who left there before paid their fair share. So again, that's just my feeling, but I understand the regulations, and I would put a motion that we deny that access and follow the regulations based upon this.
Okay, somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
But I also recommend, Madam Chair, that we do discuss this
And
at
Barbara's
our
going to put
workshop.
that in her folder. For when we get to
Revisit,
that.
yeah.
Okay? All right, the operation and maintenance contract and pump station status, 7-year comparison of the budgeted and actuals. And Barb nicely prepared that for all of us to look at. Did you get a chance to look at it?
Not that, no, but that's okay. I'll just look at Mike's.
Download it for some reason.
Yeah, I couldn't download mine
You
either.
couldn't download it? You couldn't get this to download?
It's the only one I couldn't.
It wouldn't fit through the
Okay.
computer.
Copy of it.
Yeah, I'll follow off of Mike's.
Well, if you, and I think Mike suggested last time that we look at the percentage differences. Mike, have you had a chance to do that?
No, I haven't.
Well, we
I just
can
got the
do it
package.
quick right now. It
afterwards,
won't,
so-
I mean, it shouldn't take us very long to do the percentages. I believe what you were recommending we did was the percentages of the amount spent over the amount.
Well, not so, just so much, not even that, just more, just the actual, just the actual numbers. So we didn't have to break it down bill by bill, just basically
Right.
what we
so
were
if-
billing for.
So we've got
FWS.
2014 through 2020.
Right, yeah.
And we've got the actuals. And if we look at the adjusted budget, well, it's really interesting because when you look at the budget and then you look at the adjusted budget, sometimes the adjusted budget is really a lot different than the actual budget.
It is changed, and that is changed based on expenses. We do a request for transfer through Jack and through town manager to move monies from one account to another to cover. So for instance, in 2018, when we did a lot of the spares,
Yeah.
we started the year with an approved budget of 31,000, but we spent,
But that was on spare parts that we
Right.
put in storage, which we've now used, thank goodness that we had them.
right, but we didn't have the money in that account to cover that.
So this includes the spare part program that we instituted.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's why there's a budget, that's the starting point, and then the adjusted budget is at the end of the fiscal year, what's been
Yeah, so
moved.
Mike and Dave, what we did in 2018 was we went through all our pump stations. And we had Swiss tell us which parts they thought were going to wear out over time. We're approaching the end of the year of their life span, and we went out and we bought several spare parts to store at the DPW, right, Jack? And those parts, so that looks like a huge budget expense in 2018, but that's because we bought extra parts. And thank goodness we did, because we had a station where both pumps went down recently, and we had one spare to get us through.
Take care of it, yeah.
So that's kind of a funky-looking high number, and it doesn't really represent the yearly work because it was our beginning of our spare part program.
But the allocation of it, would it go into that budget or would it go into a separate budget?
No, it went into that. We put it in that line item.
Why wouldn't we put it into another line item for parts and stuff?
Well, we could do that. We could change how we do the budget, but at the time, we just put it all in there.
Okay.
So we don't have a breakdown without that. Unless, Barb, do you remember how much that we spent? Was it 30-something?
It was approved for like 30.
So you could take like
5,000.
35,000 out of that 81,946, and then you'd have without the spare parts.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would recommend that we, in the future, put it into a separate line item so it won't distort the real numbers. So
But it is infrastructure, that's what,
And it's
It's
noted
a-
here, too.
it's-
no, it's noted there,
materials.
but it shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I believe the reason that we asked for this was so that we could see if there was a change in the percentage of the amount that we're spending over budget. Was that your intent, Mike, when you,
Well, it wasn't my intent, it was, I believe it was Kyle's intent.
okay.
I just suggested doing the actual numbers instead of breaking it down by invoice. But it was, first of all, just, it seemed like an awful lot of work for
Yeah,
Barbara.
yeah.
But see, I would take a look at this and go service for service. So if you have X amount contract, you gotta keep the contract separate. That's why it's a contract. We can't throw parts in there. It has nothing to do with the contract. So this is distorted, what we're trying to say.
That's what I'm saying. It's got the parts in it.
Yeah, and it shouldn't.
So what we really want to look at then is, what did we budget for that calendar year, not spare parts that are in storage for emergencies, versus what we actually spent that year? Am I correct in understanding you?
Yep.
And the person who was most interested in this is not here tonight. So Barb, do you think you could modify this to pull out what we've spent on spare parts for storage?
Well, that's what's over to the right, 28,005 more in spare parts inventory. The 35,531 is Swiss's time and material invoices. And then there's 28,536 more in spare parts inventory. And then in FY19, because it did span that other 8,100 went into was for spare parts. So it's the combination of those two that we approved, or the commission approved, about 35,000.
Yep.
So it's already showing what's the spare parts versus the 35.5 and the 26.1 for 2018-19 are the time and material charges.
Jack?
Chair, if I may, I understand what we're getting at here, and I think that's appropriate, that would break it out, but on any given year, we may use one or more of those parts.
Right, which we paid for in a
So,
previous year.
right, so we can break out the service calls from the spare parts until the spare parts become germane to the service
I
calls.
understand that, because for instance, if we bought it
So
in
that's what they-
2018 and we used it in 2019,
Right.
then we paid for it ahead, but we have to have spare parts on hand, because we can't have a station not working.
Right, so it may, I mean, I don't do that spreadsheet, but somehow that needs to be identified, and maybe it is here. The spare parts that are in stock
Right.
with an asterisk there. And then in the call-outs or the maintenance call-outs of that particular year or any particular year is a portion of that in that particular year. If we spend $30,000 on spare parts, we don't just keep them and never use them. You know, we may use 10,000 or 6,000.
But we're carrying that in inventory anyway, so when we need a part, that would have nothing to do with like proof of services, for example. So SWS is under proof of services or purchases of services. That's the line item that I'm talking about,
Okay.
that's what they're getting for services. Now, in the contract, we supply some parts, if I remember right. And that would be that wouldn't even be in here. It shouldn't even be in here.
Because they're not going to charge us for the
That's
parts.
correct. But right now, it looks like they're charging us for this, and that's not right. So
Agreed.
if you take this, then you have apple and apple. Right now, you got apple, oranges, and sewer
Yep.
covers. And
Separate.
And this is wrong, yeah.
Separate.
Outsourcing is the line item that is the contract.
I'm
And this
looking at this
infrastructure-
purchases of service. So
Right.
purchases of
And
service.
outsourcing is under purchase of service. There's infrastructure, there's I&I, there's outsourcing, legal, and engineering. So they're all under that one.
But you should have a code in there that has each one as a vendor code. So for example, if you have SWS under a vendor code 1, then everything that goes with the vendor code 1 is accounted for. And parts have nothing to do with vendors. It's services.
But infrastructure in the past has been any cost to repair this pump station. So it's time and materials, both.
At the end of the day, when the budget is done, that's correct. That will show at the end of the day. It's going to show what you pay for services, and it's also going to show the parts. I mean, we can all read that spreadsheet, but when the question's asked of what's SWS's contracts over, that's services. That's as easy as that. That's what they have a contract for services. What are we paying above the contract or below the contract? You know, it works both ways. Maybe.
We pay the same amount for the contract. And the figures that are right there are what we're paying to Swiss over the contract. 35.5 was over the contract.
Because of parts?
Time and materials, yes, both. Labor, it's their bills. we don't break it out. It's not broken out. It's a bill with many descriptions. But it's not a broken out invoice.
This is going to be a process, Barb. It's not going to be done tonight. And I think that's what we're trying to get back is the basic contract versus what we're paying. And what we're paying above the contract and the reason why. And there's reasons. I mean, but when you have parts in there above and beyond, it makes it look even worse.
Well, it was broken out because that was an abnormal year where we made that investment. So that's why they were broken out.
So Dave, do you have a recommendation on how you'd like to see this modified?
It's real, and I think we talked about it the last meeting. Basically, what I would like to see, and Mike can jump in here too, is here's your contract. What are we paying for the contract? And if we're going above the payment, why?
For services?
Yeah, that's...
For services.
I mean, in today's world, and we talked about the last meeting, you're going to have reasons, and they're legit. But you want to get that shade of why are we doing it out of the equation.
Yeah.
And by doing it is by separating the parts from the man, I guess.
Now, I understand and I agree with you, but my question is, historically, Barb has not separated out time from materials, correct, Barbara?
Correct.
So it would be a very long process to go back and look at each bill.
At this point.
I don't think I'm saying go back.
I think we move forward.
Yeah, you move forward.
That's where I was going with this. That's where I was going with this.
No, I think we move forward.
I think we move forward. I think that it's done, what's ever done is done. But from now on, I would like to see it separated out, Barb, as Dave has said.
So
Can we do that?
Yes, I can. And I can
Going
ask,
forward, not going backward, going forward.
right. And I think when we have small water come in, we can ask them if they can also
yeah, help us
rework
with
their
that.
Right.
invoices to make it a little easier.
Yes.
So I have two questions, and one is, Bob, the adjusted budget is above and beyond budget, the numbers.
Adjusted budget, no.
No.
The bottom line to the sewer commission budget never changes.
Okay.
It is the approved budget. But
Okay.
when it comes to the year end and there's, a pump goes,
Sure, right,
and we've got money in one
Right.
bucket, it is moved around. So the bottom line budget never changes. That is within the budget, but with monies
Yes.
available for
So-
expenses
so
required.
adjusted budget line is an increase from the budget.
It's an increase in that
Sometimes,
category.
not always,
Not
because
always, but
other
that-
line items have
I got you.
taken a decrease.
Okay, and then, another question, I'm in the assumption, we said we used one of the pumps.
We actually
spare
used two,
pumps.
didn't we use two of them?
Well, I don't know, we use some of the spare parts.
Whatever,
yeah,
whatever
a
we
number of them.
have in that inventory, I'm in the assumption that when we take from it, we're replacing it immediately.
We should be.
Are we, Jack?
Not always, no.
I guess because I'm saying you just used the scenario that
Right.
we had two pumps go down.
Yep.
Well, so if we don't have another pump right now, that's.
Right, we try to
replaced
do
that
that. We had more than one pump go down. I believe we did replace one of them. Yes, we did.
I think so.
Yep.
Because the lead time's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it is. It can be. It can be. But what I hear you saying, Mike, and I believe in this, and I think the commission agrees because we've had such good luck with it, where you manage your inventory like any other business, and when you're using up some inventory, you replace it.
gotta
That's the whole
replace
idea in spare parts, and we do that, and they aren't all big expenses. Some are smaller, but they're regular expenses, and so what we like to do is when it's going to be a pump or something of thousands, and according to protocol, we let the commission know. When it's run-of-the-mill stuff, day-to-day stuff, we just carry that. It's not it's an expense, but the way we've set it up here, we don't bring that to you every time. There's also the issue of buying them, which has been a little bit of a paperwork snafu and difficult to describe, is that when it's a smaller part, Swiss buys them, let's say, in volume,
Yes.
and then breaks out our number without a markup by dividing it, say it's 100 by 10, whatever it is, that we buy 10 of them. And that's difficult to invoice.
Yep.
They have told me that, listen, if you'd like the specific invoice, we can do that, but we would pay so much for one item or for 10 items when they buy them in volume. So a lot of times that doesn't show up specifically there, but you know, it's been explained to me on each invoice, and I think that's the way we should continue to go. They do that in our best interest, and it is in fact in our best interest to buy in volume. For them to buy in volume, excuse me.
And, yeah, and then to sell it to us.
So, Madam Chair, I have a question. So, we used 2 new pumps. You bought 2 pumps, then we used them?
And one of the ones we took out, we had rebuilt, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Damaged ones was rebuildable, the other one was...
Was not, and we had 2, yeah, we've taken out more than 2, of course, and I don't have, you know, which station, what in front of me, but I mean, that's why there's 2. When we run on one, there was the West Street station where it was so blatantly, the line was so blatantly abused because of certain rags, mechanics rags and stuff, and then we sent a flyer out to that neighborhood. It couldn't be rebuilt because it had fried the by the impeller stick, it fried the pump. Couldn't be rebuilt. We did spend a couple of bucks to see if it could be rebuilt, just to troubleshoot it because it was worth the expense. And so we put a new one in there, and soon after that, we had the same issue with a second pump for the same reason. So, with no disrespect to the people that play by the rules, a lot of the damage to the pumps is because of what people put down the toilet. They have to be very, very careful.
I agree, and as long as we're being televised, I'll put a plug in for that. It's a toilet, not a trash can, as my friend over here says, and don't put anything down there that doesn't belong in a toilet, because in the long run, it costs us all money down.
Well, it does. I mean, I mean, the resident is the person that pays the tab ultimately, not the commission or not some other entity. So when you abuse the system, it costs everyone extra.
So, Madam Chair, my question is, did we replace, are you going to keep 2 pumps on hand? Or what's the policy that when you have inventory, it's used, do you replace that? Or
We don't
do
have a
wait?
policy per se.
Should we think about implementing that?
Well, we do
Again, not
think about
tonight,
it.
but
We do think about it. And to Mike's point, when we start running low on inventory, we stock up.
yeah. Well, I mean, pumps is an investment, but the only thing I know with pumps, they're $1 today and tomorrow they're $5. So, I mean, I didn't know if you wanted to think about replenishment of those.
Yeah, we do think about it, and it was, I can remember it was in this very, very room when the commission, I don't think you guys were on the commission at the time, we brought Swiss in and we bantered back and forth as to how many thousands we should spend on this, and they brought in a pretty detailed list of what they felt we should keep, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, good.
So, Jack, I guess what I'm hearing Dave say is, if those spare parts start to get low, if the inventory is starting to sink, you would come to us and tell us the inventory is getting low, we need to resupply it.
Right, if
So
it's
we
going to
can-
be a large expense that jumps out at you.
So we can rely on you to come to us and tell us, this needs to be purchased.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. So I think what we've agreed here before we move on, unless someone else has something to say, is that we are not going to be going back historically over the Swiss bills. Have I got that right, gentlemen? Yes? We are going to, from this point forward, record keep a little differently. Barb, you're okay with that? And we're going to take out parts and just look at service. It's going to be separate than parts. Moving forward, no back historical research. Dave?
Madam Chair, I want to make it clear that this has nothing to do about anything in the past. What happened in the past, happened in the past. And I got the utmost respect for the commission, for Barbara, and for SWS. This is more of a, I think we want to streamline it and get it squared away. But this has nothing to do with anything but that.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make that clear.
I agree completely with that statement.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. Then if we're all done with that, we are having Swiss come in on October 15th, and we can talk about moving forward how we're going to want to do this. Any other questions on that topic? Comments? Okay. I third-party review update. Weston and, oh no, that's
Woodward.
right. Woodward and Kern contracted counsel for review. Barb?
It did go to review. It actually came back this morning from council, and he made some changes, reverted some of their own attorney's changes, giving an explanation why. So I have sent it back to Scott to see. I'm hoping that given their recommendation, I sent him a clean contract. We did break out from the sample or the current draft you have, we did take and use the scope of services and the price proposal from the RFP and made it Exhibit A and Exhibit B, so it's clear what is the scope and what is the price. It also allows us, if there are items to be taken out, it does break down. I know Jack was concerned about the number of hours. You know, if we were able to remove something, that we had a vehicle to do that. So the way it's set up should work for that purpose.
Okay.
I did confirm with Scott that the scope is the scope of what was in the RFP and what their response was. What I took from, or didn't take from the July meeting was, once they get in and once they get the contract, they will look at the data, and then they will see if there's any adjustments that they can make to the
To
scope.
the scope.
Right.
To the scope. Okay. So that's kind of on hold then until we hear back from the attorney.
Yes, but from Scott. Our counsel's done, hopefully, and hopefully Scott's attorney will approve what Adam has said.
Jack?
Yeah, I think when Mr. Costa gets that language, we should bring it before the commission, because I have a concern that, as I mentioned before, that a bottom line, no, not to, excuse me, I'm in our own budget there. A not to exceed budget does not necessarily mean it will be less. I spoke to Scott, he stopped in the office last week, and we talked about that exact issue on what is a not to exceed budget and what is an itemized budget. And I have every faith in Mr. Costa that we'll know that before it gets signed. But there seems to be an expectation from our council that if there are things in the budget that that you choose not to do, or that they look at and say we're not going to do that, there would be redundancy. Is there value to that? Is there better value on every task? He hasn't established the tasks yet.
There's different milestones, and each one has a number of hours and the cost, so if we can reduce the hours and the scope of each milestone.
But if as he told me, he said there may be another task where there'll be more hours.
Right.
So we can't, in good faith, reduce the contract by certain hours and the value by certain hours, and then when he runs over, or potentially runs over, hopefully he won't, say that, no, that's the price of that task.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It works in both directions.
Right, and so that, what concerns me,
Yes.
Joan, is that, maybe I recall differently what a not-to-exceed budget is, but that therein, there's an itemized budget, there's a not-to-exceed budget, more open. But I guess that's why we're with council. So, if we're going to say, well, we can reduce the price, Adam says, Mr. Costa says we can reduce the price, does he also say that the price can go over?
No, it's not to exceed.
It's not to exceed. I don't know. I'm sure it's fine legally. He's the council. It doesn't make sense to me somehow. Maybe
We did discuss it, I don't know if you heard, this morning quite at length. He's used to a set price budget, so for him to try to work it. So he did try to work it so that it's a not to exceed and give us a little, let's see.
Okay.
Madam Chair, is that not to exceed number in the budget?
40,000.
It was actually encumbered because it was agreed to in FY19. The RFP was accepted and it was encumbered, so.
And Mike and Dave, just so you know, this is to investigate the excessive amount of I&I that is causing us to go to Leominster with higher rates. Because,
It's actually to review what's been done too.
Yeah, a big part of the
Part of the
contract
review.
is to review. Every time you change consultants, you're building a house. You change contractors, something happened, you just don't need that contract, you don't want them, you come to an agreement, you change contractors. Well, the first thing the next contract is going to do is review everything that's been done. So we've done this packet of
We had a different
we've done
contractor
these
working on
tasks.
I&I.
We've done these tasks through other consultants. The first expense from a new consultant is to not do anything beyond a review of what we've already done. And then that new consultant will make a recommendation as to where we should go from there.
yes.
Should we change, again, not saying we will, then that consultant would then look at the material and then move forward with new tasks.
So just to get this straight, Madam Chair, we're spending $40,000 for a new consultant to find out something that we've been working on from, are we expecting anything new to come out of this with these guys?
I don't know how the commission went through this. I would expect you weren't here, so I can say you, but you collectively look at what we've done, and I share in that frustration, and I think the comment was made, we need a fresh set of eyes. So the commission saw fit to bring in 3 consultants. Was it 3?
5.
5
We only had
consultants.
3 actually come to the meeting.
3 came in,
3 actually came in.
which is really unusual.
Here, let
You've
me-
got
let
3
me-
people
if I
bidding.
can interject here historically. Commissioner Luck, on his own, processed a whole bunch of data on flow. Am I right, Ryan? And he felt that the data he processed showed that there was excessive I&I. At the time, we had a different consultant who said we were okay, we were in limits for the DEP, which I think Commissioner Luck would disagree with on his own, but that is what our previous consultant said. So he wrote a proposal, and he brought in the 3 companies, and they came in. One of them said at the meeting that they thought we were within the industry standards. Again, he disagreed with that. I went on leave. I was not in favor of this. I went on leave for personal reasons over the summer, and it was Ryan, John Reynolds, and Carl Luck who were the only ones left over the summer when this was actually put out.
Yeah, I think the other.
Yeah, he was gone when I went, yeah. So I don't know, Ryan, if you can fill in on that, but there was not unanimous support of doing this. Because I personally felt that $40,000 was a lot of money for us.
Well, I heard from the consultants right here, it's a newer system. It's a newer system comparatively speaking to the older ones that they do. And we're trying to get, a new fresh set of eyes, but like Jack said, I don't know what they're gonna find. Maybe they'll find something, because it is frustrating to see the numbers, and Leominster's rates are going up considerably.
Well, I guess the question I got is, are they going to look at everything? And when I mean everything, look at the water bills coming in. Look at the flow of water that Lunenburg Water is providing. I mean, how many times can we check a pipe? We smoke tested them, we cambered them. Again, I don't know what we're trying to accomplish. I like the idea of having a fresh set of eyes, but maybe a fresh set of eyes will look at something different. You're going to look at a pipe so much.
Right.
And there is I&I, and there is a pattern of when the I&I comes in and when it goes up. I just like to see, I mean, has a contract been executed?
Not yet. No, it went to Scott. It'll come back to you guys at the next meeting.
I mean, maybe Jack, what's your thoughts on it? Again, not to put you on the spot, it's just,
Oh, no, you wouldn't do that, Dave. it's really a policy decision. I share everybody's frustration with not having been able to find it. What's frustrating for me beyond that is to have someone come in and re-review everything we've done, but that's not a derogatory comment of Woodard and Curran. That's anybody we would hire would want to come in. Obviously, what have you done? I had an engineer come in the other day from a different company who hadn't been aware of the RFP, and he set out a plan for me as to what his company would do, and we were exactly what he would have done. You know, the smoke tests. In fact, we took it further. We took it into the basements with permission to actually look at sump pumps into the flow, and then look at this, and we've done that, which makes it doubly frustrating. So what can we expect? Can we expect this new set of eyes will look at all of that and say, this is what you've missed. This is where we should go. I don't know. Have you guys reviewed the contract?
Here's what I'm.
No, we just got the package today.
Here's what I'm going to recommend at this point in time to move things along. Barbara, if I understand you correctly, we will be getting the contract back again to review as a commission.
Yes.
So I'm going to table this for now because I don't think we're going to make the decision right here tonight. The contract is still out on the other party's attorney. When we get it back, I think these are all valid questions. I have some questions myself about this that I would like to address at that time. Are you all comfortable putting these questions in your mind, line them up, and when we get the contract, we can review it? Is that acceptable to everyone?
To me, it is, yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great.
I just have one quick question, I guess. We had about 5 consultants in.
We had 3 in. We sent-
3 that showed up
Yeah.
or whatever, but basically, what was their pitch, I guess, that made us go with them? Like, for in other words, what made us think that they were gonna have the answer?
Were they wearing eyeglasses and
yeah.
sensitive eyes?
They were the only ones that responded.
Right.
They're the ones responding.
Yeah, after
That's
they-
not much of a
yeah,
vote.
that's exactly what happened. After they came in and talked with us, Mike,
Yeah.
the only ones that wanted to follow through
Okay.
were them.
Well, at least it hasn't been approved, so we can.
Yes,
Right, okay,
we can
good.
take it.
One last question, though. Did anyone ever talk to, and who did most of our I&I, Weston Sampson?
Yes.
Has anyone ever sat down with them and just said, guys, we know this isn't working, what else could it be? I mean, those are pretty smart guys.
They are very smart guys.
So, I mean, did we ever give them direction, like, let's look at the whole business and see? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean, they know the
Barb,
history.
can you speak to that?
No,
at all?
I think we did over and over. I think that's been,
I think we're at their mercy back then.
Yeah, Weston and Sampson set up a program, multi-phase program. Started with, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, Joe, but started with the temporary meters. I think you guys may have been here in the smoke test and
Yeah, we did all that.
that was phase 1. Now, we went to phase 1, we did it in the Whalum district because that's what the temporary meters showed. That's where we should go. We haven't been very successful. So should we have gone to phase 2? I don't know. We never got past phase 1. So to your question, I never sat down with them or the people we dealt with and said, geez, well, what's going on? And all what they would say was, well, now we go to phase 2. But the frustration and the comments in the commission at the time said, well, we should have done better, and kind of ended there, and we didn't pursue it on to phase 2. Yeah.
Well, I agree with the Madam Chair. I think we'll pass it, but is there scope of work for their services?
That's going to come with
I think
the
you've got to review
We
that.
got to review, we haven't
We've
seen it,
gotta
but their
review
scope,
that carefully.
what they're going to do differently, is
Right.
it? Okay, yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
No.
Yep.
Sorry, we
No,
haven't
that's
seen it
okay. I
yet.
was on leave too, so I haven't seen it.
yeah, and I will send it out tomorrow, what I sent to Scott, what came back from council.
Okay.
I'll send it out, so you're aware of what's going back and forth.
A lot of it's boilerplate. What you really want to, respectfully, what you really want to pay attention to is A, B, C. After the review, what are you
What are you going to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you
Agreed.
propose to do?
That's a very good point, what you just said.
Yep. All right. Everybody okay now to move on?
Okay.
All right. Elizabeth Street I&I issue actions. I did not talk to council today, but I do have a clear memory of talking to council and having council talk to this commission about this before I was on leave for the summer. Barb, you want to give them, the new people, a little heads up on this? We've got a lateral line that's an issue here.
That was Weston and Sampson, actually, in one of the I&I reviews, and had come out with a pipe that was leaking, but they can't determine for sure which house it's coming from. And in order to do it, it's a cost. And we got going on who's going to pay for the investigation and the repairs. And I've had several conversations with council, so is Carl. Carl's in favor of going for it and getting the people to reimburse the town for it. But council is just saying it's a long, drawn-out process if we were in hopes to get reimbursed.
It was my understanding from discussing this with council a long time ago that it may cost us more money, time, and energy to try and attribute responsibility in this difficult why situation than as a business, it might be a smarter business decision to simply fix the problem. Because we could have a long drawn-out court case that is not going to meet with much success. Ryan, did I get it right?
Yeah, and it's the going on their property
Right.
and digging
Right.
their, that's the part
So
that's...
even if we did, the commission did bear the expense, they've still got to gain access to private property, which is, council gets involved with that also.
Yeah.
So it could get dragged out.
Is this a gravity system?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
but it's a difference, it's two houses, right? And they don't know where the problem.
I think, my opinion of this, and it's just my opinion, is that we've identified something that's leaking. And to Joan's point, do we just go in and fix it, and at what cost? And then we're into the expenditure of money, which may be difficult because of the private property component of it all. And then if we go through all of that, I would sell my soul on the fact that you're not going to get the people to pay for it. So we're going to do the repair. And in the end, how much are we going to expend for the leak that's been identified? Given our flows and our excessive I&I, how much are we going to take out? Or is it more prudent to say, okay, we know is it a dribble, is it a flow, what is it? We've identified it, so it's difficult to say, well, we'll pass it up, we know it's there, we'll pass it up. But we have to look at the whole picture, and that's why we've got council in it. What's it gonna cost us to do that? Time, materials, and what are we going to gain?
Well, and I think if I remember correctly from months ago, Adam was very cautionary to the commission. He was I right, Ryan? Very cautionary, because he did not feel we would put so much money into trying to recoup our costs, we'd end up spending more.
Yeah.
Does everybody remember, and I won't get into the story unless everybody is clear on the old sewer in town? Have we discussed that? And how the betterment covered that? Is everybody aware of that? There was old sewer on a couple of streets in that neighborhood, Elizabeth and another one parallel, and there might have been a third. They had clay pipe going into an old clay pipe sewer that flowed to Leominster. At the time we put in the new sewer, in order to not leave them without sewer, we connected the lateral right up to the clay pipe. All new PVC, right up to the property line, made the contractor made the connection, and we moved forward. There was, the people were outraged that they were charged a betterment because they didn't understand the complexities of the definition of a betterment insofar as your property is bettered. And their argument was, well, we had sewer, how have you bettered me to give me sewer? All right, that was one argument. They ended up being charged a betterment on that. The second part of that is the selectmen at the time, acting as sewer commissioners, said, bantered it around, said, you folks have to replace the clay pipe that comes from your building, your home, with all with PVC. Because the VC, which is vitrified clay pipe, that comes from the home to the new sewer connection is porous, cracks, leaks, excessively, historically. And the people said, listen, we're just not going to do it. There was never a bylaw, a law. They weren't forced to do it legally, so they just said, we're not going to do it. And the selectmen chose not to pursue it. So you've got a number of homes in that area that were connected to the antiquated sewer that have clay pipe going from the home
To the new sewer.
to the new sewer. Is it all, I don't know. I don't know. This is one of those areas, this pipe that was identified as leaking, and as you said, Joan, it's what do we gain from it? And then the legal ramifications could be strength. Yeah, costly.
How was this leak found?
I think the leak was found by cammering the line, which they did down the main,
So it's Weston Sampson.
and and the dribbling was coming out of the clay.
And it's on, is it two houses going to one pipe?
No, it's a Y, but we are not sure which part of the Y that this is coming from.
Okay, and do we have any kind of estimate what it'll cost to repair it? If we decide as a commission to do it, would you guys do it? Or would hire a contractor to do it?
We can, under any circumstances. When you say you guys, you mean DPW?
I didn't mean DPW.
No, we can't work on private property.
Okay, but we would hire a contractor.
Sure.
But we'd have to get access to the private property. This is not we can't even just say, okay, we'll pay for it and we're going to do it. We would then have to get access to the property.
Has anyone called the people and asked them if we can go fix their pipe?
I don't believe so.
Okay, maybe we can start there and say, hey, you got a leaky pipe, it's got to be fixed.
I think I would, what do you think about that, Barb? Are you comfortable making the phone call?
I don't think I'd call them, I think I'd send a letter. I don't have phone numbers necessarily. I mean, I can send a letter and say the commission's,
Identified.
right,
A problem.
identified a leak and,
But which one
I'd
would you
send
send it to? That's the
send it-
problem. You'd have to send it to both of them.
Oh, send them- yeah.
Barb, just for informational purposes, how long has this been on the agenda?
this has gone on a while,
Years?
yes.
I agree, it's ridiculous we keep talking about this and making no decision. So we have 3 different courses of action in my mind. Number 1, we can do nothing and just assume it's I, we're just going to absorb. Number 2, the commission can vote that we are going to absorb the cost. We have to try and get the permission to go on the property and fix the leaky pipe. Number 3, we enter a long, costly, possibly long and costly legal battle and try and get them to fix it. Those are the only 3 options that I see on the table. I think, personally, my advice would be to send a letter out advising them of the leak. Jack?
Well, in a previous agenda item, we're looking at hiring another consultant, right? Hiring a second consultant to look at all of this. Would it be prudent to fold that into his contract with everything? Or should we go out and venture on our own and do this? The contract is imminent with these other folks. Couldn't this be part of the information they review and they get a big picture?
Sure.
Put it on their plate.
But they should be reviewing that anyways. I mean, we know where some of the problems are. Whalum Road, I think, had clay pipes too. Coming out from the house to our new sewer. Those have all been replaced. I thought they weren't.
The only, and I'll get this for you, Barb, we've been over this is years and years, I should know it, but it's Elizabeth Street, it might be Wallace Park, you know, those parallel streets there. I just don't want to alarm anybody. We have that information at the office. I think there are 3 of those side streets that came into an interceptor line that went to Leominster.
Yeah. But didn't we sewer, when we did the smoke test and stuff, actually, I thought we got pretty good results up in that area when we did the smoke testing.
We
Well,
found some.
Yeah,
We found some leaks,
We found a couple of subpumps,
but
that was about it.
nothing that we were hoping for.
So my question would be, we're spending, you're correct about hiring a consultant to find I&I. We already know there's a problem here existing, so what would we expect the consultant to do? To tell us, to confirm that the leak is still there?
Well, I think if we tell him that the leak's there, we already know that. He doesn't have to confirm. That's part of the information package. I can't, you're asking me to say what the consultant would do.
No, I mean, the consultant's
He
going to
would
say.
prepare a
repair it,
package and,
yeah.
he would review, I can't say that enough, he would review all this, take it all, and come to the commission with a course of action.
Yeah, my concern here is this is not a consultant's advice we're looking for in this particular instant, because we already know, as Dave has said, that the I&I is there. This is more of a legal problem, and trying to do the thing that's going to cost our business the least amount of money. Because we've already identified this I&I, as Dave has said, we know it's there. The previous consultant identified it, we're all completely aware of it. So, I think we need to either decide what we're going to do from here forward. I mean, we've got legal advice, we've got a consultant telling us there's a leak, we've known that for a while now, we've had legal advice on it, we know there's some courses of action we can choose, one of which is to do nothing, one of which is to do it and absorb the cost after we get permission to go on private property, another one is to try and find out whose fault it is, which is a very difficult thing to do from my understanding of what the consultant presented. Very difficult.
I think, well, there's another option too. You can call the Board of Health and let them write a letter too, because I'm sure that's not sanitary, that raw sewage is going into the ground. There's no, it's
Infiltration.
infiltration,
No,
okay.
It's just going into the pipe.
So again, I would get the thing fixed. It's been on the boards for a long time, and
I'm in agreement.
it's part of the I&I, just get it fixed.
Send a letter out, invite them to a meeting.
Yeah.
Start small and cheap.
Two different residents, though.
But here's the thing, and we need to kind of come to a consensus on this. I agree that a letter should go out. I'm in total agreement with that. I'm in total agreement with you. We need to take care of this issue and get it off the table. Can we invite both parties in? And I'm floating this as a suggestion, not as an edict here. Invite both parties in, explain the situation, and say that we want to get it fixed, but we need permission to go on the property. We don't know whose it's going to end up being, because until we dig it up, we're not going to know, is what the consultant said. I would like to see that happen.
Let's start small.
Yeah, I mean, it's before you get lawyers and,
I agree.
I mean, just, and people usually are pretty good. Hey, I may not know I got a leaky pipe. Yeah, well, I may even say, I'll help you fix it.
Would you like to make a motion, and then we can,
Madam Chair, I suggest we make a motion that we contact the two owners and advise them that we'd like to talk to them about the leaky pipe on their property.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, good. Barb, could you write a letter and invite them in? I would not recommend October 15th, because we have a lot on our plate already for then, and that's kind of soon.
You wanted it on
Do you want it,
TV? Next one will be
do you
TV.
want it televised or non-televised? Doesn't matter.
Wherever it falls,
Okay,
there
it
shouldn't
doesn't matter to me.
shouldn't be any.
Okay.
Might have to look around their schedule as well.
Yeah, why don't we give them two choices, Barb?
How long has this been going on, Jack? Years, right? So another month or so is not gonna.
Why don't we give them two choices of a meeting? Say we'd like them to both come in at the same time, and that can either be the last meeting in October or the first meeting in November.
Sure.
And see if we can get them both in at the same time and explain the situation. That also gives us a little time to talk about it before then.
Sure.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
I just happened to think of another, I guess, issue. So their clay pipe, we go in, fix it on their property. So you have a leaky pipe, we're fixing it, we're gonna pick up the cost. What happens to the rest of the clay pipes?
Yeah, the whole street, we're gonna want it done for free.
That's true.
Just saying, we set precedents, we did it at one spot, what happens from there?
That's an excellent point. But that doesn't preclude us from inviting them in November, and we have a meeting before then, just us, that
I
we could
just
talk about
think we
it.
should be clear about, possible can of worms we're opening, that's all.
Is it a clay pipe that's broken?
It's the clay pipe that's
The
leaking.
area is
The
clay
old
pipe.
pipes, yes. But we can still invite them in and explain the situation to them, that there was a leaky pipe. We don't have to offer a solution at that point, but they don't even know, do they, Jack? They haven't even been contacted.
I know, it's been years, honestly. I don't, someone would have to be present to explain it all to them. It would not be me. Would you be capable? Do you think Mr. Luck is capable of doing that? Is it Weston? I mean, this is years, folks. This is years.
Yeah. In fact, I thought we talked about, if I remember right, because of the clay pipe situation, if you sold your house, that pipe has to be replaced.
We can't, we've tried as a commission to leverage people to do something with those pipes. So far, they've chosen not to.
Do we have a list of how many houses have that? Is it a lot?
We do.
Is it a lot?
There's a couple of, as I said, there's a couple of those parallel streets. You figure the homes on those streets.
Would it be a smart business sense for us to just change those pipes out in that area?
If someone has identified through the process that they're leaking.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'd rather spend $40,000 in getting those clay pipes out of here than,
I think you're probably starting to talk more than that, because now you're going on.
I don't know how many houses there are there.
Yeah, and then if you, I guess rhetorically, I would ask you a question: how much I&I are you going to eliminate by doing that?
Hopefully a lot.
Such an amount has not been identified
At
yet.
this point, we've had a motion voted on and approved for Barb to write a letter.
Yeah, we definitely
So we're
should.
going to do that?
Yes.
That there was a problem. Barb, you're not offering any solutions, because we haven't decided on any solution.
Right, yeah.
We're just going to have them come and explain the situation.
Just,
Right, but Jack's point, who is going to do that? Weston and Sampson is the one that uncovered it, but I don't know if we want to call them back in.
Maybe. I mean, when was the last time? Now we got to go back and think about what Jack just said, have the new company come in and take a look at it right away to see if it has been replaced.
the thing is now to have these people come in, basically you tell them, okay, we suspect there's a leaky pipe on your property. What are you gonna do about it? Because it doesn't sound like we can, or at least not without setting precedents. So, I don't know, maybe we should rethink the motion, maybe. That's all.
So do we need another motion?
Well, I can withdraw my motion.
Well, we voted on it, so it's got to be re-voted.
Okay, well, let's think this through one more time.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, we go in, we replace 1 or 2 clay pipes, we're committing to replace anybody that wants a clay pipe replaced.
But how about if we just invite them and explain the situation and leave it on the table? Maybe they'll just say, we'll fix it.
I'm not a gambler, but
I doubt that very much, so.
I mean, we're responsible for the sewer system. We're not responsible for a homeowner's pipe from the pipe to the system.
Yes.
That's a homeowner's responsibility. We, as a business, want to stop the I&I. That's a fact. Now, there's actions we can do, and there's actions that we should do, and there's actions that we do because we want to be good to the public. But to a point, and Jack brought up a good point, I think our next step would be to talk to these new consultants coming in and hit that first thing, and just to see what is the effect in that neighborhood. Even if we got to run a temporary meter up there to see what I&I is going on. You know what I mean? We can,
Okay, now make a motion to rescind your other one.
Madam Chair, I put a motion to rescind my last motion.
Okay, somebody second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mike, did you vote? No.
Aye. Just give me a tough time.
Any opposed? Okay, we're not sending the letter out. We're going to wait
Leaving it
until
be.
the consultant comes and takes a look at it.
And I'd like to know, where would we put a meter jack that would pick up that neighborhood to see what the I&I is going on? The end of Elizabeth
Well, that's
Street?
what the consultant will tell us. That's their engineers. That's what
Consultant
they're
thing,
going to tell us. Okay, the special town meeting warrant. The warrant opened September 10th for 11/12, special town meeting, 7 PM, in the high school auditorium. Articles due to the Board of Selectmen by 9:30. Correction to motion from annual town meeting to show transfer from our reserve capacity fund of $9,993 and reduce revenue projection, KB provided, proposed Article 924. And
Right.
then there's the stabilization article as well. Barb?
Just working with, KB is Karen Brochu, who's the accountant. When she was reviewing other information for the recap, she determined that the wording of the motion at town meeting was not clear and not correct. It should have stated that we were taking $9,993 from our reserve capacity stabilization fund into adding it to our revenue, but it just, we used one number which included 9993. So it's just to clarify that 9993 is coming out of stabilization. So she's proposed, I'll read it, I'm sorry, I don't have my handouts. To see if the town will vote to amend the amounts voted under Article 12 of 5-4 annual town meeting for the sewer enterprise as follows. Town vote to appropriate from sewer enterprise revenues the sum of $665,434.86. Appropriate from the sewer enterprise retained earnings the sum of $163. Am I reading the right one? Sorry. Appropriate from the sewer enterprise retained earnings the sum of $163,251.14 and transfer from sewer reserve capacity stabilization fund the sum of $9,993 for a total appropriation of $838,679 to operate the sewer enterprise fund for FY20, and further that $888,706.40 be included in the appropriations from general fund for indirect costs and be allocated to this sewer enterprise fund. Just important to know, it doesn't change, our budget doesn't change the bottom line number. It's just, we had 9993 up here, and included in the total, and it should have been broken up. So, that's what,
That sounded more clear. That was good.
thanks, Dave.
Yeah, that was good.
The other one is the stabilization. We have, now that the FY19 monies are in, we have a total for the reserve capacity that was received in FY19, and in order to protect it, to be used towards, say, John Fitch, or any other capacity issue with Fitchburg or Leominster, we're proposing to transfer $75,1366 out of retained earnings into the stabilization fund.
So we need a vote from the commission to approve this change, Barb?
Both articles, two articles.
Okay. And could you make sure that we get those handouts maybe electronically? Because I'd like to have the actual.
Yeah, I
hard copy.
will
Thank
send
you.
them to you. I do
I'll entertain a
apologize.
motion to make the two changes Barb just reviewed to the wording of the articles for the town meeting. It doesn't change the bottom line, they're just changes in the wording.
Motion to change the wording on what Joan just said,
As Barb read.
as Barb said.
You have to repeat what she just said.
Now, is 189 Cross, is that ours or that's separate?
Is, sorry?
189
No,
Cross Street.
I was gonna bring
Okay.
that up, that will be another warrant article.
Can we have a second to Ryan's?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It carries. And as everyone is pointing out here, Barb, 189 Cross is going to also be an article, right?
Yes. Did that motion include both the?
Both of them, yes.
Okay, and yes, 189 Cross. I will put together, I'll just use the same wording we've used before when we've had to expand the sewer service.
Okay, irrigation meter implementation status, switching to remote readable equipment. Notice is mailed out September 19th. The $50 fee is in the next billing cycle for all people using the irrigation meters. They must comply by July 1st, 2020 to participate in 2021. And they have to have a licensed plumber install the remotely read meter. And there was information on our website. Any other questions on that? All right, great. Moving right along, Grease Trap Interceptor Program. Annual permit renewal status. 3 accounts have been assessed $25 a day for fee back to August 16th, 2019, as of September 16th, 2019, certified mail. Sean Patrick's has a fee of $1,425 that is due. Simon Pure has a fee of $800 due. And A&D Crossroads, all paperwork received, but only $700 of a $1,500 fee and non-compliance charge, $800 due.
Have they all got invoices?
Yes.
Has anyone called them, or?
Yep, I got it. Well, Simon Pure called tonight, actually before the meeting, and just will get me everything that's due. A&D Crossroads, I think will probably come in and fight that. Excuse me?
Yeah, what is it?
That's, Ixtapa,
Tapas.
that mall, but it includes Dario's also. Right. And Sean Patrick's, I haven't heard anything from. I'll continue to invoice until
Well,
they come before the...
You weren't here last time, Barb. I'm sure you've reviewed everything, but we were talking last time, and we don't feel that the annual renewal should be changed. You were either compliant or you were non-compliant. It's a $200 difference.
Right.
And I believe we were in pretty good agreement on that last time we met, that the annual renewal fee was not negotiable. Now, we have a different thing about people who've lined $25 a day forever. We have in the past had a different practice on that, but the annual fee is pretty set in stone. You're either compliant for the year or you're non-compliant for the year. Did I get it right, gentlemen?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And are we still hooked into the selectmen that when they go for their license
Fiddler's-
renewals?
Fiddler's license, yes.
Yes,
Yep.
so that's their
Yes.
penalty, they don't get a license if they don't
Yep.
pay their bills?
Right, exactly. And anyone who wants to negotiate or plead their case for the $25 a day fine has to make an appointment and then actually come in and talk to us. But there is no change in the annual fees. Okay. The other thing under that is the FOG audit status. Carl, wanted to wait till after the due date for the annual permit renewals. Barb, you want to shed any light on that?
I haven't heard anything. They were, as it said, Carl was waiting for these annual permit renewals to come in, so.
Well, he's not here tonight, so
Right.
we'll just put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yep.
Okay, the first Tuesday report for July and August?
They were all received for July and August.
Yippee, okay. Excellent. Minutes. We have several minutes here, and there was an issue on voting on them or reviewing them ahead of time. I personally don't feel it's in my mind to approve minutes for a meeting I did not attend. So I could approve the minutes for the last meeting that I was present at, and that would be it.
May I just read that?
Yes.
Council provided a motion because we have new members. We wouldn't have a quorum of members present to approve minutes. So Adam provided, I move that the Board Commission vote to approve the minutes of its, et cetera, meeting, provided that members not in attendance at such meeting or not then members of the Board Commission are voting only as to form and not substance, where they have no firsthand knowledge of all that occurred at such meeting.
Okay, I can live with that.
That works.
That works for me too.
Agree.
So now we got to go through the minutes.
I read all the minutes, I was pretty happy with them.
Yep.
So, and I got a pretty good idea what's going on from 7-9 anyway, so.
Yep. Any discussion, let's do this as a group approval, if that's acceptable to people. Is there any motion to approve this chunk of minutes here? Someone make a motion to approve them.
Madam Chair, I submit that we approve the minutes from 7-9, 7:30, 8:12, 9:03, and 9:10.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
And 9:3, do we say 9:3?
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Vote.
Opposed? No. Okay.
Madam Chair, we don't have to sign those anymore, is that correct?
Right.
No.
So, good, okay.
Okay, just want to make sure that everyone knows that our next meeting will be on October 15th, and the meeting after that is October 29th. Those are our next two meetings. Business managers report, new member updates. Barb?
Yep. So as requested, I did, and although I figured out that Dave and Mike weren't getting their Lunenburg Online emails, Joan had asked me to send you out the Wright Pierce Maintenance Plan contract.
Yeah.
And then the draft of the Woodard and Curran, so those were sent out. The Swiss meeting, Debbie did confirm she can attend 10:15 at 6:30. And then I've got invoices for review.
Okay.
There's several of them because we've missed several. Fitchburg, I have the, I have the September 17th meeting for, invoice for $11,843.46. And these are amounts that I have provided based on meter readings. So they're coming back with an invoice that basically I provided her the amount of.
Not much tag.
Nope. I have, and then, yeah, just initial as chair. I also have
You got
the August one, which I don't know, was not received. I don't know how, anyway, it didn't get in, for $10,598 so I did have 2 months' worth of Fitchburg invoices. I have received finally, the John Fitch Highway portion of our debt service for Fitchburg, $20,965.40. This will be, the schedule is on the back. It's about that same price for now for 20 years. So we're going to get this every, yes. We've carried money to pay it for a while, so this is final. Yeah.
Just the final payment, you said?
No, this is the first of 20.
Only 20 more to go.
Okay. Buy a car for that.
Lemonster also submitted their invoice for $82,901.05. Again, it agrees with the figures that I had through past meter or estimated billing figures. And lastly, I have Wright Pierce submitting an installment invoice. It's for work through August 30th, 2019, for $7,423.78. This is for, the total of the contract is $23,600 for this maintenance plan. I think a lot of this was, well, Matt had said it was for the visits to the pump stations, and they're starting to accumulate data or starting to set up the maintenance plan.
Barb, on this, I know we ran into a problem in another situation about paying for deliverables that we didn't get. It's another whole department, another whole situation. I don't have, not that it's my say, so I have any problem paying for work to date, but do we have anything to show for the work to date? Besides an invoice?
But it's services rendered. It's not material, it's not a lump sum for hard,
Okay, but it's itemized to say, you know, what they did,
what they're working on, yes,
what they worked on.
right,
The pump visits.
right,
Okay. I didn't see it, so I
yeah,
just been bitten by that previously, so.
okay. I know, this is how we've done it for Wright Pierce before, where they bill us and Weston and Sampson also, as they're working through a contract for services each month, so that it is spread out and we're covering the cost of the work. So if that should change, let me know.
So, Madam Chair, who is our primary company? I mean, is it Wright Pierce or Weston Sampson? We don't use them anymore? Is it Wright Pierce?
Yeah, we haven't done anything here with Weston and Sampson. This was a contract agreed to
We did go out,
By
we
the
did ask
commission?
Weston and Sampson
Yeah,
to
but
bid, or
in
to,
the end, it was a contract agreed to develop a maintenance plan.
But did Weston and Sampson even want this contract? They didn't want
they
the
passed
contract.
on replying.
They passed it over.
Did they check in when they did their hours? Did they check in with anybody or just come out and do their stuff and bill you?
They just do their stuff.
So nobody checked when they came in and...
No, but like I said, we have a contract set amount of the 23, I'm sure. They're working in their own offices. Except for the pump station visit. All right.
Is it clear to you what they're doing?
And then I just received at the last minute, Heather had sent an email out townwide to all of the elected and appointed officials for the conflict of interest training that will happen before we meet again. So I wanted to make it known. October 3rd.
It's not just conflict of interest, isn't it
It's all,
also
right.
open meeting law violation? I
Yes,
believe.
and Adam is going to be performing it or whatever. He's
Okay,
presenting it.
I would like to recommend that Dave and Mike strongly recommend that you go to this training. We had a sewer commission meeting where we had Adam Costa come to our sewer commission and actually go over the details of all the open meeting laws with us, which have changed a lot in the not too distant past. And Ryan, did you feel he was helpful? And,
That had to do with the previous, there's a lot of meetings.
right.
I don't know, maybe the three of us ought to get together and talk about it.
That would be an open meeting law violation.
I missed that page, though, okay.
But Adam does a really nice job, and it'll also give you, I don't know if you know Adam Costa, if you've worked with him, it'll also give you a chance to get to know him. He does an awesome job. Very nice on that presentation.
But,
I was going to recommend that.
yeah, and Heather's asking for everybody, yeah, whether you've attended before or not, because it is,
I attended it before on, but can you send me the link for the, was it the ethic ones we got taken?
that'll come from the clerk's office,
Yeah,
when you have to
that
do your training.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that good for a couple of years?
Only a couple, and then you have to redo it. I've had to redo it.
No way.
That's because you paid them not to do it again.
And that's it, just that,
Members, agenda items for future meetings. Well, we have several things on the agenda for October 15th already. We have Swiss coming in, and we might be looking at the contract for Woodward and Kern. So, those are gonna be large items.
What about Al was supposed to come in from Bad Larry's last meeting? No show.
he did respond, I'm trying to think of what he said. He's not going to pursue requesting an abatement, so.
He's just gonna pay. Okay. And we also postponed a few things till Carl's here again, Barb. Remember when we were going through the agenda? Okay.
Yes.
Public comment. Any additional public comment?
If we go back to your last question, I think that's a question for Jack and Barb, to start thinking about what we can do to streamline the business better. What do you guys want to streamline, or what concerns you have? But I think what we're doing now is starting off fresh with SWS. I think we're looking at the I&I. Everything is progressing in a positive manner, but you are the ones who are the backbone of the business, so maybe if you can think about it, what we can do to assist you guys in streamlining this business as well. In better words, we shouldn't be talking about Elizabeth Street for 5 years. You know, it's got to be done.
Agreed.
You know, it's things like that, what is the core of the business, yeah.
Agreed.
And Jack, you know me, I like to expand the business. I like to see how we can get more customers and increase the flows and create more havoc. I mean, that's,
Okay. I would need a motion to adjourn this meeting to move into executive session.
Motion to adjourn. And enter into executive session.
second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
To return or not to return?
Not to adjourn. Okay, so we have to vote again?
You should,
No, to let people know.
just let people
Not to
know.
return, yes. We'll be closing for the evening. Thank you. Okay, so it's approved.
Thank you.
And take us
Good
off the
night.
air now.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Bloomberg.
Good night.